Thank you very much for inviting me to your Congress. The Venstres party is a member of the European liberal family, ALDE, and an important force on the Danish political scene. Therefore, this is my pleasure to join you today, albeit only virtually. I have to confess that I asked my Danish colleague what the word Venstre means in Danish. You can imagine my confusion when I learned that it means left. But I fully understand that you belong to the liberal center, and I am convinced we need to strengthen such liberal centers all over Europe. In my speech, I will try to identify the key challenges we, the liberals, should be addressing and what I think we should be doing to uphold a liberal democratic order. The European Union and its members are a beacon of democracy. It is its guarantor as well. I have no doubts that without true democracy there will be no union. Democracy means individual freedoms. Democracy means rule of law and fundamental rights. Democracy means trust, trust in one another, trust in the democratic institutions, trust that the state authorities are not there to oppress us, but to serve us. Today, there is no doubt that this trust is shattered. Any survey I open shows the same trend. The trust in democratic institutions, governments, political parties is plummeting. There is no easy answer to why this is happening. There are many external factors like the economic crisis, digital transition, inequality, finally the COVID pandemic. Too many people felt left behind. Too many of us, democratic liberal politicians, left too much space to demagogues to occupy the space and to abuse people's frustrations and uncertainties. Anne Applebaum describes this very well in her recent book, The Twilight of Democracy. I do not share the dark end of history theories that democracy is in an overall recession. But one thing is clear for me. If we want to uphold democracy, we must restore this trust. And here are some ideas how to do it. Let's start with the COVID pandemic. As liberals, we have to be on the side of the people, businesses and freedoms. And we have to resist the urge to come up with solutions that sound good, but go against these principles. The recovery money is a huge chance for Europe, for its business and citizens, for all member states, including Denmark, whose plan we endorsed in June. Our direction is clear: to design it with a clear vision towards a greener and more digital future. But we must also ensure that we do not build back the same, but that we build back better. Divisions in society, gender stereotypes should not be deepened. We rather need to use the money for a push towards a fairer and more inclusive society. Now let me turn to the rule of law and fundamental rights. I do not have to convince anyone here that rule of law, media freedom, and fundamental rights are the bedrock of democracy. I personally remember the times of the Iron Curtain, the times my country, Czechoslovakia, was under Soviet control. I personally tasted the flavor of authoritarian rule. I still remember the overwhelming feeling of distrust, injustice and fear. This is why on the EU level we have advanced the rule of law agenda to unprecedented levels. We have now a good mix of tools and political determination to have a bigger impact. But we also have new tools that, in my view, were very much missing in the past. First, the annual rule of law report focusing on all EU member states. It is an important tool to broaden the common understanding of what rule of law is and what it really means. We have received good feedback on the second report we published in the summer, and I hope I can count on you to contribute to this project. The common exercise should over time contribute to the creation of a consolidated common culture and shared ownership over all these issues. Thanks to this, it will be more difficult to use rule of law as just a slogan like some try to do. We will fill it with common meaning across the EU. Finally, let me mention the new regulation on the general regime of conditionality. I proposed this in 2018 in order to have a mechanism linking EU funds to the rule of law. It is applicable since the 1st of January this year. In the Commission, we have already started working on it, also going through source material. This regulation is an unprecedented tool, and let me also stress we will need the Council to actually use it effectively. In the Commission, the people of values and the people of money have already been actively working on identifying breaches of the principles of the rule of law and assessing whether they affect the Union budget in a sufficiently direct way. No case is lost. The last point I want to make today is the challenges stemming from digitalization, like spread of online disinformation or election interference. For the first time, we insist that the media are not only an economic sector, but that they are also an essential pillar of democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude. This is not an easy time to be a champion of liberal democracy. The rise of extremists with its easy but dreadful solutions limits the space for a free and honest debate. But I am convinced we have to keep the steady course and defend what we believe in. But we have to get better into translating these values into daily life of the people. I see that some other political forces try to fight with extremism by adopting their language and their agenda. I see this as a red light for us, liberals, and as a very dangerous path. By normalizing the language of exclusion and hatred, by accepting the use of authoritarian playbook in the domestic politics, they may win a battle or two, but in the long run, they create a breathing ground for more extremism to come, and ultimately people will choose the original over a copy. We have seen enough warning signs, particularly loud from the US in the past 5 years. This is what I believe liberal democracy can and should counter. This is what I believe we, the liberal politicians, should stand up against. As Elie Wiesel said, we must take sides. Now the quote, "Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim." End of quote. And I am convinced that the ALDE family and its proud members, also here in Denmark, are the right choices to uphold democratic values.